Hello and welcome back to The Movies Made Us Do It. Me and Matt are back. How are you, Matt?
I am pretty good, sir. How are you?
I'm very, very well. Really enjoyed discussing The Wicker Man last week. And, nothing more to say about it. If you don't like that film, you're wrong. And let's just move on. The simple fact of the matter is that film is brilliant. No, I really enjoy. Any time. I mean, generally we do these reviews to be positive, right? They're always a film we love. I don't think we've ever done one of these where it's like, I hate this movie. So it's always a positive, but every now and again you get one like this like, oh, this is like a real treat, you know?
I honestly don't see the point of covering.
There's enough of that on the internet.
There's enough. Yeah, exactly. There's enough of that,
and plus we do this where we alternate. So the alternate show is when we talk about new stuff, and that tends to be negative every now and again. So we do get some negative in there, but I think if we're going to do a deep dive, I don't want to do a deep dive into The Room or something. It's like, oh god, really? Isn't there enough of that in the world? Can we talk about cool movies?
Here is my dive into Titanic.
Well, it's nice because I struggle to watch new films anyway these days. Like half the time I'm forcing myself to watch stuff because of this show. So it's nice that on the alternate week I'm like, oh, a treat. I get to watch The Wicker Man, or I nearly said the name of what we're doing next, but I won't. I'll leave it. But anyway, yes, this week we're back to our usual review fare. I even got a swanky advanced screening. Because my housemates are Sky customers. Nothing to do with me being a top celebrity podcaster, obviously. That's why. So do you want to kick us off?
Sure. Well, I'll start off with Guardians 3.
All right, then. Guardians Volume 3, although I guess you might want to rewind to Christmas first.
Yes, so I did also see the Christmas one. I know it's been out for a while, obviously. And
since Christmas.
The number 3 has been out for a bit as well, but
a couple of months now, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, it was one of those sort of. I wanted to watch it mainly because I love the first two.
Yeah.
I think that certainly number 1 is probably my favorite Marvel movie.
I think it's number 2 or 3 for me. I still think Iron Man for me is probably still my favorite when I think about it on reflection.
Winter Soldier is probably the one that is.
Well, Winter Soldier's either number 2 or 3 for me, and then Guardians is either number 2 or 3 depending on where that lands.
Always makes me laugh because I've always made no bones. I'm not the biggest Marvel fan. I love the 90s X-Men. I'm a big fan of the 90s X-Men.
Same. I was 2000 AD, and then I was more DC if I had to pick between the two.
Way more DC.
Yeah.
And I almost actively hated Captain America.
Me too. I couldn't believe when they made even one half-competent movie of Captain America, because I can't stand Captain America. So I was like, there's no way this is going to work. But it did.
I mean, I've got a cheesy fondness for that. Is it 70s or 80s one where he's got the bike and the
red brown one? Yes, superb. But that's perfect.
Real cheesy sort of love for that movie.
But I've got cheesy love for is it Nicholas? What's his name? The old Spider-Man from the 70s. Yes. That stuff's great.
Old Spider-Man ones,
and obviously Lou Ferrigno and all of those good times. Because they did a team up, didn't they? They had like Thor and
they had and Daredevil.
And Daredevil, yes.
Well.
Yeah.
The sort of like Black Ninja type.
It's like Trial of the Incredible Hulk or something.
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry.
Yes. Anyway, so
you can already tell it's going to be a rambly episode today. I'm just in a rambly mood.
So I thought, well, okay. So I got the Christmas song. Right, well, I got to watch because somebody, you've heard. There's certain things you have to watch the Christmas one because it tells you certain things. It's like, you really don't have to watch the Christmas one.
That's the Marvel spiel now, though, isn't it? Oh no, you have to have watched, and I think that's starting to backfire on them a little bit now, where people are like, I can't be bothered.
Certainly with the TV shows.
Yeah, exactly.
You have to watch this TV show. It's like, no, I don't think so. So I sat down and watched the Christmas one with my wife.
Yeah.
And I kind of enjoyed it. It's a bad Christmas episode.
But isn't that intentionally so?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's not, I mean, the thing is, it's not Star Wars Christmas special episode.
No. But isn't it like tongue-in-cheek bad, I'm assuming?
Yes. It is very tongue-in-cheek bad. I mean, basically the whole plot is, Peter's still miserable because Gamora's not Gamora anymore. She's a different Gamora.
Yeah. And,
Mantis and Drax decide that the best way to cheer him up is to get him something he wants. They get this story about Christmas from, is it Raglan?
I'm not sure.
It's the Kraglin, the Sean Gunn character. Kraglin tells this. It starts off with a cartoon sort of thing, so it tells you this story about how Peter, when he was a kid, tried to bring Christmas to the Ravagers, and oh bloody hell, I'm going to forget his fucking name now. What was this? The boss of the Michael Rooker's character?
Sylvester Stallone.
No, Michael Rooker's character.
Oh, what's his name? Something you.
Why do I not remember his name?
No, it's on the tip of my tongue. It ends in Yondu or something.
Yondu, fuck.
I don't fucking know these names. They're silly space names.
Yondu, basically. Yeah, so he makes this little Christmas tree out of bits and pieces, and he's got gifts for all of them. And then Yondu comes in and says, "This is awful. You don't you don't give gifts. Ravagers only take what they have. Blah 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 blah." So of course, Christmas was ruined.
Yeah.
So they decide the best way to help Peter is by bringing him something that he would like, and they decide to kidnap Kevin Bacon because he's Earth's greatest hero because of the dance off and all that. You get all that stuff because is it Footloose? Fuck. I am all over the place today.
Don't worry, so am I. Footloose is a film starring Kevin Bacon.
So they go and kidnap him, which is actually quite funny. Them going to Earth and going to a bar and getting money. The funny thing is one of the funny things is they end up on outside Man's Chinese theatre, which I don't think it's called that anymore, but it's still a Man's Chinese theatre for me. And of course there are like people. There's those people that stand around in the outfits and stuff, and you can get your photo taken with like Captain America or anything. And obviously there's a dude dressed as Captain America, and Mantis is like, "Hey, it's Captain America. Let's go and talk to him." And it's like, "Hey, why is he running away?" And of course they get.
I bet it was very selective which character. I bet they didn't have crap Batman walking up the road.
I don't think they meant. They don't think they saw. I saw crap Batman, but they had a few other ones.
All Marvel, though, I'm assuming.
But I do like. I mean, they're going to spoil one of the jokes, but with one of the jokes, there's this family go up to them and like, "Hey, let's get our photo taken with them." They "Hey, because we can say we met the God of War," and they walk off, and I'm like, "Oh no!" For a second, I was like, "How is he the God?" Oh, they think he's Kratos.
Oh, nice.
I thought that's funny.
Nice. That is quite funny.
That's really good. So anyway, they get a map to the stars, and they find him, and then there's a chase. There's a police. They wreck some police cars and stuff. They take him to. Obviously, Mantis, messes with his emotions and makes him fine with everything. And they take him to see Peter, and Peter's shocked, horrified, but kind of happy, and they celebrate Christmas, and there's song and dance numbers, and it's pretty awful, but I kind of enjoyed it. My wife, however, said, "Yeah, I am not watching the movie. I'm going now." And my wife walked away.
Right, so
it's like, I really fucking hated that. I am not watching the film with you. You can watch that on your own.
So now comes the part where you tell us whether your wife had the right idea or whether you had the right idea.
So, moving on to Guardians.
Mm.
So you get it starts off with basically a lot. It's actually a really sweet opening. It's lots of little raccoons, baby raccoons, sort of running around each other, and then obviously horrible things happen.
Yeah.
And from there, you basically you get the you're back on Nowhere, which I think they own now.
Right.
They certainly seem to be running it anyway. And Rocket's moping around playing, I think it's Radiohead. And yeah, he's playing Creep, I think it is. He's playing Creep, and of course it's over the tannoy, so everybody can hear it. And Peter's in the bar out of his face, and they're sort of trying. I think they're trying to establish like a base of operations, and they're putting up a Guardian sign, and you get Cosmo, who is quite funny. Didn't notice before that Cosmo's a female in this version. I'm pretty sure Cosmo was originally male, but
I couldn't tell you.
I'm not really sure. Anyway, basically, he's mopey and all that sort of stuff, and they're all. None of them look like they're having a good time at all, to be honest. I must say, the sets for the place look a lot cheaper than before.
Oh, really?
It kind of looks very Tim Burton Gotham.
Okay.
It's like one street. It's like massive station, one street.
Oh no.
And it's fine. It doesn't look like really bad. It just looks a bit.
You can tell it was on a bit of a tighter budget.
Yeah, you could tell that they didn't either want to or go around too much further.
Was it a pandemic shoot?
I do not remember. It could well have been, actually. I don't remember. That could be a thing I didn't take into.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking. Might be.
When all of a sudden, from out of nowhere, this gold dude turns up and basically tries to grab Rocket. And basically, there's a big fight, lots of destruction, people getting hurt, Rocket gets hurt. Of course, it turns out to be Adam Warlock.
Which I think they hinted at. Did they hint at that at the end of Guardians 1 or 2? I can't remember now.
Yes, I think it was 1.
I feel like it was 1, but yeah.
Yeah, so my knowledge of Adam Warlock is pretty slim.
I mean, to be honest, my knowledge of Guardians of the Galaxy extends to watching these films. So
right, okay. Well, I know bits. I've read some of the modern ones. I've read a few of the earlier ones, which is entirely different. Yondo was, I think, the leader when I went in some of those, so it's a lot different.
Right.
But so Adam Warlock, I do have the Infinity Gauntlet comics, and I have read them. It's been a while since I read them, but I was going back over them. And I'd completely forgotten that certain things in that comic. I mean, good God, that comic is it's got pretty much everybody from Marvel. You've got all of the major ones that are in the the movies, but you've got all the bigger things like Doom and Galactus and the Silver. I mean, it starts with the Silver Surfer basically.
Yeah.
And obviously they don't have any of that in the Infinity Gauntlet stuff. But I'd completely forgot that in that comic, Nebula basically is a walking corpse for most of that comic.
Right.
And the whole story is different anyway because it's about Thanos basically trying to impress Mistress Death.
Yeah, I think you said that to me when we reviewed it, because I had obviously no knowledge of this, so yeah.
But Adam Warlock plays a big part of the Infinity Gauntlet.
Right.
And I think because they were doing they had him gestating, didn't they, at the end of the first Guardians?
Yeah.
And my guess is at some point they were going to bring him in properly, and they either never got quite round to it, or I know there was that time when Gunn was fired, so maybe
maybe a plan got shelved.
Yeah, maybe he got lost in the mix there. this is not Adam Warlock. This is a really dumb.
Okay, so even with your limited knowledge of Adam Warlock, you know enough to be like, this ain't right.
This dude is he's basically a moron child.
Okay.
And he just comes barreling in. He, breaks shit. He injures Rocket. They basically fight him off. He goes away. Rocket then is, in a serious condition. They got these medi packs that they take out, and it's like a belt that they put over the person, and it triggers something in Rocket.
Okay.
So basically, Gamora reads, because she's like all computerized. Not Gamora, Nebula, because she's all cybernetic. She basically reads that he's proprietary tech, and that whoever made him put in like this failsafe thing that if they tamper with it.
Oh, so by trying to heal him, it's seen as tampering.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that basically they've got so much time before Rocket is going to blow up and just die horribly. So they basically.
Wow! Imagine at the end of Guardians, they did the dance off, and then Rocket exploded. Just like, oh shit!
Yeah, like,
what, he got really hurt during that?
Yeah, that would have been really bad. So then then it's a case of they see what this company that made him. They decide to go and break into this company to try and get the code to switch off the sort of explosives, as it were. So they go to this space station, which is like really gross. It's the whole station is made of like flesh.
Oh, that's
and it's kind of cool and gross and yeah, icky. And so they get basically they get the help of the other Ravagers, Stallone included, in quite a pretty brief cameo, really. So basically, Gamora now is with the Ravagers. She's basically gone off and she's joined the Ravagers and she's gallivanting around the universe with them. So she turns up to help them get into this place, and obviously, there's the bickering of Peter phoning over her, trying to sort of, oh, you changed and all that. And you get you saw the bickering you saw in the trailer. You get Nathan Fillion as this sort of like security guard, and you get all this stuff. Anyway, while this sort of stuff is going on, you get a lot of flashbacks with Rocket, who you see that he was made by this guy called the High Evolutionary, who is trying to make the perfect society. So he's striving for perfection as he sees it. So he's basically altering these animals.
Yeah, I seem to remember him being an X-Men villain at some point.
That's probably true. I don't remember.
It's ringing a bell. The name is ringing a bell, and I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't remember that one, but it could well be. So you get introduced to the other three friends of Rocket's. You've got, I think it's Lila, Teef, and there's a little rabbit one which I cannot remember the name of. But basically, Lila is a otter with robotic arms. Teef's is a walrus with wheels. And Floor, that's it. Floor is a really horrific little rabbit with spider legs and a sort of gas mask. And they in their cages they become friends, and they sort of help. They bolster each other. And you see that Rocket is ridiculously clever. He can pretty much, as we've seen in previous movies, he can cobble together all sorts of stuff from there's like, I need this and that person's leg, and you get all those sorts of things. And even when he's little, he can, do these things. And the High Evolutionary, at one point, he's got this chamber where he think he brings in like a small tortoise or a turtle or something. And he puts it in this chamber, and they force the evolution of this creature. But there's something wrong. It's basically that every creature he does this to, they're too aggressive, they're horrible, they're monsters. And little Rocket sort of points out that there's some sort of problem with the feed, or don't ask me what it is. It's just sort of, oh, it's that, and that, and that. And High Evolutionary is like, how the fuck did you know that? You shouldn't even know about any of this stuff. So Rocket is special. He's evolved, let's say, more than the High Evolutionary expected him to.
Sure, he's like surpassed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you basically, I'm not going to spoil stuff, but you get a lot of these sort of little flashbacks, and then you get the main team going to this counter Earth, where basically the High Evolutionary recreated Earth with pretty much just animal hybrids. So it just looks like America with animal people, and obviously the High Evolutionary is trying to get hold of Rocket because he wants to take his brain out, and because this project didn't work. But the next one is going to be better, and he thinks Rocket's brain is going to help him with the next incarnation of his
sure
brilliant idea for perfection. So that's what Adam Warlock was sent for. Basically, the queen from that race. Obviously, they're fucked, and it looks like the High Evolutionary created them as well. And she basically sees that for them to continue being, she needs to impress him. So she sends Warlock to get Rocket for the High Evolutionary, and of course you get all that sort of back and forth and all. For the most part, I actually really enjoyed it.
Oh, good. It didn't sound too positive early on there, so I'm glad.
Sorry?
I said it didn't sound too positive to begin with there, so that's good.
It's the script's a little all over the place. It does feel like they kind of had a few ideas what they were going to do and changed their mind a couple of times.
Right.
They slight spoilers. I think we were all expecting someone, at least half of them, to die.
Yeah, I mean, but I'll funny enough get to that with my review of Jack Ryan season 4, where it's like, oh, it's the last one. Maybe people will die. You kind of go in with that expectation, but I think with Guardians 3, it was almost explicitly said, like, not everyone's going to make it out of this one.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? I think they said that.
Pretty much. So it kind of feels like they didn't, even though you think, well, this is going to be Gunn's last Marvel movie. He's moved on to DC now, so he's probably going to be his last Marvel movie. So you'd have thought he would have just, fuck it, let's just do this, this, and this. And maybe Disney just went, well, actually, maybe don't do that because we can use those people, later.
Sure. Do you think they changed their minds towards the end of production and reshot something so someone didn't die?
Yeah. To their credit, on the emotional scenes, they do not undercut them with really bad jokes.
That has been my biggest issue with Marvel films for a decade, or the best part of a decade now. So that's great.
Yeah, there's a little of it, only in the
I don't mind it every now and again.
Thing, which is exactly. But there was some. I can understand why some people would have a real problem with this movie, because there is, some very unpleasant things happening to animals. And,
sure.
One scene in particular, which I will not spoil, other than to say is fucking devastating.
Okay.
Even I was like, okay, here come the tears. It's like, but it did feel like at the end of once you've seen it all, it was like, oh, okay, this sort of feels like not a cop out exactly. It doesn't feel that sort of bad. It just feels they were a bit safe. They didn't want to ruffle any feathers too much, and so even though the way it ends, it does. How much was? I mean, it's been out for a while anyway.
It has been out a little while.
All I'll say is it does. It ends well, and I actually was quite happy. I was fine with how it ends. There was some really nice stuff. You can definitely see they could go in a few directions here with what they've done, and depending on who they give it to continue with, I mean, I think that's the problem they're going to have if they want to continue with any of these characters, is if Gunn's not going to be doing it, who the hell are they going to get to do it? And that will very much. I mean,
I'm pretty sure hasn't like Dave Bautista said, like, unless it's James Gunn, I'm not interested in working for Marvel.
Exactly.
Basically,
he's basically said, I'm not. He doesn't want to. I don't think he wants to play Drax again anyway.
I'd heard he wants to, because obviously he's getting older as well. I'm sure I saw an interview with him where he said he wanted to lose muscle mass and not be so big.
Yeah.
And kind of it was restricting the roles, obviously, that he could go for. And,
yeah.
As we've said before, it's one of the most shocking wrestler to actor success stories ever, because I thought he was going to be the worst of the bunch, and he's actually turned out to be the best actor of the bunch.
Yeah, he really has.
So I think he's really committed to becoming the best actor in as many varied roles as possible, and I guess he probably sees his size as a little bit limiting. So I think age combined with that means that he's looking to.
Probably better for him.
Oh, definitely.
A lot of doesn't go very well for a lot of those big wrestler dudes. They struggle to get around after so long.
Yeah.
They've put their bodies through a lot of shit.
Oh yeah.
I don't give a fuck what anybody says about wrestling. Those dudes work fucking hard for what they do.
Yeah, I mean, you can't fake gravity.
No.
It's gonna hurt. It's gonna cause damage over time, and
Actually, as a complete weird aside, I actually watched a little thing on YouTube about the cage match between Undertaker and what was his name? Was it Mankind? No,
Mankind. Mick Foley. Yeah.
Wow, that was so good. I remember watching that.
Mm-hmm. I remember seeing that back in the day. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I'd forgotten how fucking good that match is.
Yeah.
I mean, Mankind's walking around with a tooth in his beard for like half of the fucking match.
Yeah. It was lodged in his nose, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, fucking hell. So, you cannot tell me that those dudes do not fucking...
No, I mean, it's obviously scripted, but they, I said, you're still going to have wear and tear on your body from doing that stuff.
I mean, that dude fucking fell through the fucking ceiling, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Fucking brilliant. Anyway, so I think you can...
They'll keep the CGI characters.
Yeah, that's
Rocket and Groot, the ones they don't have to pay any actors really for. They just get a new voice actor or something. It'll.
Yeah, exactly. That's fine. I think I heard something weird, like they're gonna continue Star-Lord as a game show host or something.
Okay.
I thought, okay, that either that's just one of those things they're chucking out there, or it's bullshit.
Yeah.
So I would say, actually, I felt it was a nice ending to those three movies. It felt pretty good. It was. I would put them in order of
in order of release.
As to how the dipping in quality.
Yeah.
I think the first one is a genuinely brilliant movie. The
Yeah,
second
I
one
loved the first one.
is
Really
good, and I enjoyed the second one. And this one is good, and I did enjoy it. There was just some genuinely nice things. I really do, just because it's a talking dog and with a Russian accent. Cosmo is brilliant. There's a whole little. It's sort of kind of annoying, but Kraglin is trying to use. There's this running thing with him trying to trying to use the arrow,
right?
The Odds arrow with the whistling, and fucking up all the time. And Cosmo she can use telekinesis to hold, pick things up and move stuff around, and she shows that she can do these things better than he can, and he calls her a bad dog.
Aww.
There's this running thing through the movie where they're walking around nowhere, and he's going, take it back, Mia, I am not a bad dog. You take it back, and it's actually really funny. So I actually did enjoy the sort of the sort of thing with her. There's a brief thing where they're playing cards and stuff, and I think Howard the Duck turns up again, and there's just some fun little things. The action's good. One thing I will say,
I don't know why they keep baiting the Howard the Duck thing. It's like, Disney, you're never making a Howard the Duck movie. You're never going to do Howard the Duck justice, so just don't.
I got a feeling that they were going to do a TV series at one point, maybe.
Yeah, but...
And it might have been animated as opposed to what they were doing.
Yeah.
But I love Howard the Duck movie.
Oh, yeah, me too.
That movie is
it's hilarious.
Weird and terrible and batshit fucking crazy. I fucking love it.
It's brilliant. Yeah.
There's a Marvel movie that you just think that wouldn't get made now.
No, certainly not. I mean, it's not good, but it is good.
No.
It's hilarious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing I would definitely say is, I'm going to butcher this poor man's name, TMMUDI, who plays the High Evolutionary. Yeah. He's a proper bad guy.
Oh, good.
He's fucking evil. He is absolutely loony and just wrong. He is a proper his villain. No sort of, he's misunderstood, or that seems to be the way they've gone with a lot of their villains these days. It's no, they're a villain because this and this. It's like, no, he's just a prick. And I'm so glad he's just a prick. He's great. He is a real piece of shit, and I absolutely love them for doing that, for for having this proper bad guy who evolves these things. He's, as they say, I think it shows in the trailer, he's not really doing it for perfection. He's doing it because he likes torturing shit.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
He's claiming these things. The cast are all doing. They know what they're doing now. They're all doing their bit. Karen Gillan is great as Nebula. There's a sort of hinted at thing between her and Peter that, for me, sadly, didn't really go anywhere. I was kind of hoping that they would be a bit more, forthright with that, and it's like, no, just fucking do it. Just fuck Gamora. Just go with Nebula. She's better anyway. But overall, I really enjoyed it. I think it's still fun. It's still, even with the gruesome animal stuff will definitely put some people off.
Yeah.
But I think for me, it was used in a sort of horror context for the story. I didn't personally find it, body horror, grotesque sort of stuff. It's not.
Sure.
It's not full on Saw or, or that or Hostel. It's not that sort of full on, but it's you get attached to these characters, And they might, yes, they're not real. They are CG creations. But you do get, I think, most people get attached to them. I certainly did. And when you see them get horrible things happen to them, it's not pleasant. You feel for them, or anybody who has any amount of emotion certainly feels for them. But like I said, everybody's doing their job. It's actually a really fun movie. I really liked it, and I would recommend anybody to watch it, because I think it's in the last batch of these Marvel movies. This is by far, other than the Spider-Man one, way ahead of everything else they've done in the last couple of years. It's way better than anything else. I mean, it's way better than the bloody awful Doctor Strange 2 or, Black Widow or any of that crap. I would definitely recommend it.
Okay.
If you've seen the other two.
Yeah, I enjoyed the first one a lot. I enjoyed the second one a lot. I probably will check this one out at some point. I've always kind of kept the Guardians movies, I think, almost by their very nature, being in space and away from Earth, always feel completely separate to me. Like, I don't really feel like they necessarily need to. I remember seeing the first one with my dad, and he just said, like, this is a really fun space movie. He'd never watched a Marvel movie before that point, and he was like, oh, this is great, I was like, oh, yeah, there you go. Just a fun space thing.
I think that was why the first one was so successful.
Yeah, because it was late into that I don't know, phase 2 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
But it was a good onboarding point for new people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which they don't do anymore. I mean, now you even need to watch these terrible TV shows as well, apparently, to make sense of anything. So, it looks fun. I'm sure I will give it a go at some point, because I am a big fan of the first two. So
I would certainly say if you've got, I mean, it's a 12A. If I'd be very cautious of younger kids watching it.
Sure.
Because it would be probably pretty harsh for small ones. But if they've seen the other two,
you're going to be hard pressed to stop them, aren't you?
Yeah.
I guess just pre-warn them.
Yeah, exactly.
Watch things with your kids.
Yeah.
That's what my parents did.
Okay, you should do that really anyway. Really.
Well, yeah, exactly.
I mean, having said that, there was loads of horror movies up there. I watched that. You really shouldn't have.
Well, no, I remember. Yeah, but I remember watching Alien with my dad, and Aliens and Predator, and I watched a few things with my dad when I was too young to see them, but wanted to. But yeah, I will certainly give it a go. Now, shall I talk more superheroes, or shall I switch it up?
I don't know. Which one would you prefer?
I don't really mind.
Let's
get the superheroes out of the way then. Fine. I saw The Flash, which I said I wasn't going to see, but I did.
Yeah.
So I was gonna just watch YouTube clips of Michael Keaton.
That's kind of what I was planning on doing.
That was my plan, but I was given a copy, and I thought, why not? What's the worst that could happen? So, I guess my short review of The Flash is didn't hate it as much as I was expecting to hate it.
Right.
That's probably my short review. It's okay-ish. So, the Barry Allen is an asshole, and he's very, very fast. So the rest of the Justice League, especially Bruce Wayne, aka Batman. Spoilers. Affleck's Batman. We open actually on this big robbery gone wrong in Gotham City, and we get this kind of opening scene of Barry. He's waiting in line at this sandwich coffee shop, and
Gotham.
No, not in Gotham, but he's the Flash, so he's going to get to Gotham super quick. Plus, isn't in the DC
taking very kindly to Barry Allen showing up in Gotham.
Well, in didn't we establish in Zack Snyder's universe that all of the cities are just really close together anyway?
Down the road.
It's just down the road. So he's in whatever city he's in, maybe Star, who knows? I
must admit, I kind of liked the idea of Gotham and Metropolis being.
I didn't hate it.
Across the river.
It doesn't make any sense from an architectural standpoint or any kind of logic whatsoever, but fine.
It's kind of cool in a sort of.
Yes, it's kind of cool.
A sort of hideous mirror thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But no.
No. So he's in this sandwich shop, and we see that his calories are too low, and this is a big issue with the Flash. He needs his calories to keep up his speed. He's got a really fast metabolism, so he needs to eat and consume lots of calories regularly, and he's waiting anxiously in line. He's got work in a few minutes, running late for work already, and he gets to the front of the queue, and the lady who normally serves him isn't there. So he's got this big issue where he's like, oh, the lady, where's the lady with the curly hair or something? And this guy behind the till is like, well, she's off sick today, so I'm here. And he's like, oh, well, I got this issue because normally she's got the stuff ready for me. And obviously he doesn't. So he then lists off this ludicrous order. And the guy starts taking forever. And of course, he's panicking because of his calories. And then Alfred calls and is like, Master Wayne needs you in Gotham right now. And so he has to run off to Gotham low on calories. And basically, there's been this big robbery gone wrong. But as a result of the robbery, this whole hospital building's going to fall over full of kids. Batman's chasing bad guys. And so the Flash needs to save all of the babies that fall out of the window of the building when the building starts collapsing.
Yes, I have heard about this.
Yeah. So it's
isn't a microwave involved?
Yes, one of them ends up in a microwave. So they tried to do the X-Men thing, which was the really cool scene from Days of Future Past. Is it Days of Future Past?
Quicksilver scene, isn't it?
Because even the X-Men movies started trying to continue doing it, but it was only really good that first time when it was amazing.
Oh man, I mean, there's another hero that I'm like, oh fuck, it's Quicksilver. They do an absolute beautiful job with him in that
scene, certainly. Yeah.
I mean, because there were two Quicksilvers because he was a hit and miss in the Avengers, wasn't he?
Yes. Yeah. So he's got to save these kids, but also his calories are running down. So basically, he loses his powers as his calories deplete. Apparently. Anyway, he saves.
I mean, there was always a thing in the comics with you had to eat shitloads of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, basically, you just see that as a result, he starts slowing down, which I don't know whether that's as a result of him losing his powers or whether that's a result of him just being tired. He can't keep the speed up anymore. So our perception of it is that, things start coming back to normal speed. But anyway, comedy ensues, but he obviously saves the day. And then he heads off to try and catch up with Bruce. Batman has this big encounter with this guy on the bridge, presumably a Gotham bridge. I don't know. And there's this big bomb thing that's going to fall in the water and kill all of Gotham if it hits the water, because I don't know what it is, but it was a MacGuffin that Batman. The robbery was not just a bank robbery; they had something else, and it's a big, city-killing device that Batman needs to stop hitting the water. He can't make it, but luckily Diana turns up, Wonder Woman, and she pulls Batman and the criminal out of the water, saves the day. And we get some comedy again with, oh God, it's the lasso of truth. And we don't know how that works, apparently, because that's not how that works. But it apparently in the movies, it just means if you're holding it, you just talk shit constantly. I always thought the lasso worked that you needed to ask questions. But apparently now you just sit on it like they did in Justice League, or you just hold it and you're like, oh no, I need to tell you all of my secrets without being asked. I just start talking.
Yeah, I did actually think it was quite funny when Aquaman was sat on it.
Yeah, it kind of was, but here it's like, this is not how this is supposed to work. And it's like, it's really cringy, but fine, whatever. It's a minor thing. It's a weird thing with this movie where you've got, you know, Bruce, you've got Affleck's Batman, you've got Diana, you've got Aquaman, and they're all there, and you see Henry Cavill's Superman in a you know, CGI bit, and you're like,
Right.
it feels like this is going nowhere, but it still feels like it's meant to be going somewhere for like most of the movie, because the Aquaman thing is a post credit. And you're like, why is there a post-credit with a guy...
Aquaman 2's coming out.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. Like, it just feels really weird, because they're all interacting, but it's like, this isn't going anywhere, guys. Like, it's kind of awkward. But anyway...
I mean, that's going to be I mean, I think the Blue Beetle movie's projected to bomb, and I'm not sure what's going to happen with the Aquaman movie. I think that's going to tank as well, because I enjoyed the first one, but I got no interest in seeing another one. No, me either. But yeah, so Barry basically has to free his father. This has been his plot from the beginning of our introduction to the Flash. He's trying to free his wrongly convicted father, who was convicted found guilty of murdering his mother. Barry was there at the time as a child and says that's not what happened. But for some reason, there wasn't enough evidence, I guess. And he was so young, they didn't believe him. So he's gone to prison, and Barry now has a job at a law firm, or possibly the FBI or something. I forget. I think usually it's just the police department, isn't it?
Yeah, he works in like forensics or something, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's a forensic.
So he's working to get this evidence, and he can't get the evidence he needs. And in a fit of rage, he goes for a big run to his old house, and in the process realizes once again, as we learned in Justice League, that he can travel back in time. Of course, during Justice League, he traveled back a second or something, or 2 seconds. In this movie, he's traveled back further, and he tells Bruce Wayne about this, and Bruce is like, this is the worst idea you've ever had. Don't mess with time. It's a really bad idea. But of course, you know, he does it anyway. This is not spoilers yet, because this is all pretty much either a trailer or clips on YouTube. So he does.
Also, if you've seen the Flash TV series,
yeah, it's pretty much the same kind of thing.
Yeah.
Anyway, he decides he's going to go back and he's going to save his mother. On the day that his mother was killed, she had forgotten to pick up tomatoes. So his father went to get tomatoes, which is when she was killed. He came back, found her dead, got blamed. So he's like, I will just go and put the tin of tomatoes in her basket. And then problem solved. It's like, because he's like, well, Bruce told me not to mess with time, but I can do like a minimal thing, right? Where I just literally do that one thing and that'll be it. So he goes and does this. He puts the tomatoes in her basket, has this moment, but it's all slow motion, so she doesn't see it or whatever, and then off he goes. Then he's trying to travel back when he gets hit out of the Speed Force by evil Flash, and he then realizes he's in the wrong time period. So he's in like I guess like the day before Zod arrived, on Earth. And he goes to see his mother. His mother's alive, and he's like, "Oh, hey, yeah, my dad's alive, and everything's great." But then he sees other Barry Allen, younger Barry Allen, and realizes something's horribly wrong. So he explains to younger Barry Allen what's happened, realizes he's in the wrong time period, and that something's really wrong because there's 2 of them and there shouldn't be 2 of them in any given.
Is that as excruciating as it sounds?
Yes, it's worse than it sounds, actually. Well, you know, it's a funny thing because I don't like Ezra Miller's Flash. Never have. However, the one thing this film does do is that the other version of him is so fucking obnoxiously horrible that it makes the primary Flash actually bearable by comparison. Like, by the end of the movie, I was kind of like, actually, maybe that Flash wasn't so bad. Yeah. Like, the other one is so annoying and so, like, borderline retarded that it's like, okay, maybe the Flash we got was okay. And it's a weird one, because I thought, they had potential here to do something interesting. Because I would have done, I don't know Flashpoint particularly well, so I don't know if this is part of the thing that he meets another Flash as well. But I know the Flash has met himself before, so
I think I've got the Flashpoint paradox.
See, I thought...
don't think so.
Yeah. Now, I thought they could have done something, or what I would have done would have been to where, well, actually, Barry Allen acts really annoying in the way he does because of insecurities due to his mother's death and murder and father being put in prison. And thus, when you meet Barry Allen with his life complete, that Barry Allen should be together. But no, he's just is insufferable. So you're like, okay, so he's just a dick, and he was a dick before his mum died, and he's a dick after his mum died. Yeah, makes no difference. He's just that way, I guess. Yeah. I guess the argument they've made here is that he's even more of a dick because he hasn't had to grow up. He's like 18, 19, but still a child.
Yeah, I can see that.
But anyway, Primary Flash loses his powers, trying to get young Flash his powers, because he's trying to fix things now desperately because he's messed up. And then Zod turns up, but they realize there's no Superman, so they have to find Superman. They can't find Superman, so they're like, well, Bruce Wayne exists. Go to Bruce Wayne. It turns out to be Michael Keaton's Bruce Wayne. There you go. And then it's Supergirl, not Superman. That's pretty much all I'll say about it. They need to stop Zod in this alternate dimension. Barry needs to get home, but he's lost his powers. And we've got this new child Flash, who is also played by Ezra Miller, who doesn't know what he's doing with his powers and is reckless and dangerous.
So what happened to Superman?
Well, it's a spoiler. Do you care?
No.
Okay, Zod killed him.
I'll probably catch this movie eventually.
Zod killed Superman before he even got to Earth.
Okay.
So I was actually reasonably okay. So I had this big issue with this movie going in, where I was like, I don't understand why Barry Allen going back in time and changing something in the past makes Ben Affleck become Michael Keaton. How does that work? So Keaton's Batman kind of awkwardly explains this, and I was like, okay, it's bullshit, but fine, I'll take it. He basically says that you think that going back in the past just changes the future, but in reality it goes both ways and it buggers up everything, is basically what he said. So
yeah, ripples.
That's their excuse, that it's as a result, it's kind of...
At least they gave an...
Yeah, exactly. I was like, well, at least you said something. Fine, I'll go with it. It is wonderful seeing Michael Keaton back, obviously. My neuroses with the way he moves in this movie, notwithstanding, it's cool to see him back. It's cool to see Batman doing action things, especially 89 Batman doing action things.
Yeah.
I have this thing in my head, this internal continuity. When I watch this film, I'm like, that's not how 1989 Batman moved. That bugs me. Like, he's very CGI and doing things that 89 Batman never would have done, Like, now he's flying around and drop kicking people and spin kicking and all of this stuff. And it's like, yeah, it looks cool, but it's not really what Keaton's Batman was like.
Especially when you get, like, the church scene where he's like...
Exactly. Oh, my God.
Michael Keaton can barely get his leg above.
This version would have, like... dropped out of the Batwing, flown down, grabbed the Joker and drop kicked him into the ground, and that would have been the end of the movie. It's like, okay. But anyway, it's fine. They've had to go with the times, and that's how Batman is now. So it was very cool to see Keaton. Michael Keaton is on form. He's just like a glove straight back in to the role. He's perfect. No arguments there. I actually I think probably the biggest surprise for me was Sasha Calle as Supergirl. Actually quite liked her. Thought she was fine. I thought I was actually going to really hate that character. She's actually fine.
I've heard it said she's not as girl bossy as I think they...
No, she's Supergirl. She's just super powered and really annoyed because in this reality they've kind of done a Red Sun thing, kind of, but kind of not, where basically she's been kept by the Russians.
Oh, cool.
But she's been kept badly by the Russians. They kept her in they've experimented on her and been nasty to her. So she she hates humanity, basically, or she thinks she does, but obviously Ezra, they turn up to rescue her, and Keaton's Batman's like, that's not obviously the guy you're looking for, let's go. But Flash, says, well, she obviously needs help, we should help her, and as a result she's like, oh, okay, there are some nice people, and then she realizes that things are good. But anyway, yeah, so Zod killed in this reality killed Superman before he got to Earth, but in this reality the key is Supergirl, not Superman. So anyway, lots of fight scenes, lots of time jumpy stuff. It is fun. It's a lot more fun than I was expecting. It made a little bit more sense than I was expecting, because I thought it was going to be a hot mess. But I quite enjoyed it for what it is. It's really dumb, but it's fine. I will say the CGI is some of the worst CGI I've seen in a blockbuster movie. I like, it looks, I think it looks really bad.
Like, this movie has been chopped and changed, I think, so much that they probably got to the point where the money is literally, we have put so much money in this, it's running out now.
We're not talking bad. We are talking so bad it needs to be seen to be believed how bad this is. Like, it is unbelievably bad in places. Like, I could not, but it looks unfinished. It's really bad. But I can look past that. I can look past that. I had fun. I will never watch this movie again. But I had fun. I'm glad I got to see Michael Keaton's Batman again.
The thing about bringing Michael Keaton's Batman into the story is that it completely changes one of the big points of the Flash paradox thing. Is the Bruce Wayne thing.
Well, Thomas Wayne would have been way more interesting as an idea.
Comic, it's not the Waynes that die, it's Bruce that dies.
Yes, and Thomas Martha becomes the Joker?
Yes, yeah. Martha becomes the Joker, and Thomas becomes a gung-ho, nastier Batman with sort of red eyes and stuff. And
yes, because I've seen the cartoon adaptation of that.
The Flash, the Paradox one, and it's the Flashpoint Paradox, and I like the way they did that. I mean, let's face it, as most people I think have pointed out, it's dumb. The whole idea of
I hate multiverse stuff. That's Joker. Why I'm so surprised that I liked this, because I hate this shit normally. Like, I really hate it.
It's so dumb, but it's also fucking cool as an idea.
And Jeffrey Dean Morgan,
as an idea that
Jeffrey Dean Morgan would have been great.
So distraught with her son's death, she becomes a lunatic Joker, and he becomes this even more brutal Batman. It's kind of.
I genuinely think Jeffrey Dean Morgan would have been fantastic.
He would have been such a good, perfect, brutal Superman, brutal Batman, wouldn't he? He would have been really good.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they just so happened to pick a Thomas Wayne that could actually pull that role off. Because normally they get like a real old guy or someone that's clearly not suited to that role. But Jeffrey Dean Morgan could have pulled it off.
What's her name? It's the actress from Walking Dead, isn't it? Played the mother.
Yeah, it's kind of it would have been a Walking Dead cameo show.
Yeah, I don't know whether she would have been a good Joker thing,
but I would say overall it's not terrible. It's not anything brilliant, and I like I said, I won't watch it again. The
thing is, for me, it's already on a fucking loser because
it's not going anywhere.
Ezra, one, it's not going anywhere. Two, Ezra Miller's Barry Allen is awful.
Yeah.
So it's but
the worst parts of this movie, there is about I want to say is about 30 minutes. It felt longer, where it's just the two Flashes. That is the worst part of the movie. After the initial action sequence, when he goes back in time and it's just the two of them, they are insufferable.
Yeah. Once
Keaton's Batman turns up and Supergirl turns up and Zod turns up, kind of it's a lot better again. It's like, okay, this is kind of fun again now. I don't know. It's helped by the fact that I love my mum, and so you can sympathize with the motivations, and it's an easy win for for me, it's like, yeah, okay,
Anyone who
I
loves their
get it.
mum.
Well, yeah, and anyone that has a good relationship with their mum and all of that, you think, well, yeah, if that happened to me, I would be really upset, and if I saw a way of fixing that, maybe I would do that. So it's easy to manipulate my feelings into being like, okay.
The whole Flashpoint thing is a great story idea.
Yes.
It's brilliant. I will say, the Flash series up to, I don't know, season 3, season 4,
yeah, it's good fun.
I really enjoyed.
I used to watch it like I watched Buffy. It was just easy TV to come home and watch.
Exactly. It was just a bit of sort of fluff that was
a bit of nonsense. Post work,
nice, interesting characters in it, and it was all right. And I Grant Gustin is a fucking way better.
I don't know why they didn't use him
than Ezra Miller.
I really don't know why they didn't use him.
No, I don't know what it is about fucking Ezra Miller. What he's got that saved him over other actors,
especially now. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how he fucking managed to keep his head above water when others have been shit canned.
I'm assuming
much less.
I'm assuming that they were probably told after this, like, you're not doing any more. Like, we just said that to get through
on the promotion. They kept his fucking mouth shut, didn't they? On all the promotion.
Yeah, I don't think he turned up, did he? Or they just snuck him in the back.
I
like,
think so.
Talk.
Yeah. They kept him away from most of it.
But anyway, that aside, it's a fun enough movie. If you're into that kind of stuff, you'll probably have a good time. So
yeah.
Weird ending, really weird ending. Don't know why they did that.
Okay.
The other Batman cameo at the end. I don't know if you know.
Oh God, yes, I have heard about the other Batman. It's like
We effectively establish at the end of this film that the whole way through this movie, by the way, he's talking about Bruce Wayne being his best friend. He's like, Bruce Wayne's my only friend, my best friend, my only friend, the whole way through. And then at the end is like, yeah, so you erased your best friend from history forever. Because they don't exist anymore. It's a different you've literally destroyed that. That person that you knew is erased from time, and you seem fine with it. You're laughing about it at the end, so fine. Okay. It's like, do you know what I mean? It's like, well, hang on a minute. Wouldn't you be horrified? Like, if I went back in time and did some stuff, and then I thought I'd saved it, and I came back, and my best friend was someone else, I'd be like, I need to fix this. Like, this is a problem.
I mean, I'd be terribly disappointed if George Clooney turned up.
Oh, okay, you said George Clooney. Now that you've said it, I'll say it.
No, fuck it, say it.
George Clooney fucking got, like, what a lad. He turns up, full beard, clearly on another film, was like, no, I am not shaving. You can just deal with the fact that now Batman has a beard. And yeah, he just turns up as Bruce Wayne with a beard, and I was like, fantastic. He's literally been on another movie, and they've asked him to walk in last minute. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll come in, but I am not shaving, so fine.
I'm not the... I mean, there are some certain movies that George Clooney's done that I've enjoyed, but I've never been a big sort of, George Clooney fan. And
I always felt like he could have been a good. He certainly was a great Bruce Wayne, and I think he
certainly got stiffed.
I think he could have been good if he'd had a good script and good direction.
I mean, let's face it. Of all that group of
he came off worst.
He was the worst
for sure.
And I don't necessarily think that's his fault.
No, me either.
I think it was the movie he was in was why he was terrible. But yeah, I mean, I would be very disappointed if he turned up as Batman. It's like, oh.
Well, that's it now. But anyway, it doesn't matter because it's going nowhere.
Could you not just, dub Val Kilmer? Can we not just do that?
I think we all would have probably cheered if we saw a CGI of all the shameless CGI representations they do in this film for quick laughs and cheers. That would have been the one I think everyone would have been really happy with.
Yeah.
If you could have got Val Kilmer's son to do his voice.
Yep.
And I think we all would have been really happy to have seen Val Kilmer's Batman.
I did hear that the Chris Reeve one is particularly egregious.
They all are. They all are. They're all terrible, and the ones that aren't, like the Nick Cage one, the CGI is so horrible that it's like, wow, like PS2 graphics, great.
Which suit did they put him? Because
they put him in the suit. They put him in the suit. The screen test suit. They put him in that.
If you watch the screen test properly, they tested about 5 or 6
It's
suits.
the really dark one, the one that's in the photo, the most prominent photos of him.
With the long hair?
Yeah.
Right.
It's cool.
Yeah.
But it's really bad, like, effects. Terrible.
I mean, some of those suits they put him in for the testing was like, he's got these like weird, like plastic muscle bits and...
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Some weird stuff in it. It's like, oh, what's that going on there? Interesting, but okay.
Anyway,
I mean, that would have made more, because he was supposed to be the Tim Burton Superman, wasn't he? So he would have been the Keaton Superman.
I think that's the idea. Yeah.
Yeah, that would have been interesting. I'm sure in reality it would have been awful.
Yes.
But a part of me really wishes it would have happened.
Yeah. It could happen. Who knows?
Yeah.
They could do Batman of the Future.
I wish they fucking would.
And if they did Batman of the Future, you could totally have Nick Cage as older Superman.
Oh, I mean, I was thinking Keaton would be...
Oh, yeah, I think that was the original plan. Like, they clearly at some point just changed their mind again and were like, well, we're not continuing, so why bait something that's not happening?
And I think Terry's a really good Batman.
I love Batman of the Future. I think that was genius. I actually really like that. The show they did was such a nice handover. I think Terry McGinnis is a really interesting Batman because he's different. Yeah. You've got that conflict with Bruce Wayne, but he is like a father figure to him. And then obviously later on, we discover he might actually be his father and all that stuff. Yeah. It's great. Loved Batman of the Future. But yeah. Anyway, I if you want to watch a superhero movie, I think you could do worse than this. It's not great, but it's certainly not as bad as I thought it was going to be.
That's all right then.
So anyway, what else have you watched?
So I watched The Gates.
Presumably not a sequel to The Gate.
No.
Cool. John Rhys Davies is in a film.
Exactly. So what we have here is so we're set in 1890s, and serial killer William Colcott, played by Richard Brake, doing his usual, hey, I'm an evil serial killer type here.
Yes. He does it well, to be fair.
He really does. Basically, it starts off with the first shot is a woman basically keeling over. And he is, you see, he's got this other woman tied to this sort of bench. Okay. And he whispers something about his wife, and underneath the bench is what looks like a dead body of his wife, and she's got, her face is covered with like a veil, and there are like symbols drawn on it, and she's got symbols on her arms and stuff, and it looks like he's been murdering women to bring back his wife. But as he basically cuts this woman to bleed onto the corpse of his wife, the police turn up and he is captured and basically taken to jail. We then move to Frederick Ladbroke, who is him and his niece, Emma Wickes. They are Jonathan Rhys Davies is playing Frederick. They are post-mortem photographers.
Okay.
Which was quite a big thing in Victorian times. Yeah. Basically, you were photographed with your loved one who was dead.
Yeah.
So if a family member died, they basically,
it's your lasting memory of
they dress that family member up, and you would sit with that family member like they were alive, and that you can see a lot of, there was a particularly big market for this thing for children, because obviously child deaths were very common then, and not only are they so they basically summoned to the jail where actually, this is after, so not spoiling anything. Brake's character gets the electric chair. He's obviously in his cell doing some sort of ritual, but they bring him out and he's put in the electric chair and he's executed. There is some really weird stuff here with the I think it's supposed to be Newgate in London, this prison.
Right.
I don't think we ever used the electric chair.
I don't know.
I'm pretty sure it's only the Americas used it, I think, and other random countries. I don't think we ever use it. We might have used it once or twice, but
I guess there's an alternate history where we did.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So certainly not then. Maybe a little later. Anyway, but the weirdest thing about this is, so it's a new invention, right? They've brought it to this prison, and then later on they say this prison is like, most of it isn't lived in. It's condemned. There's rot in the walls. It's a moldy old prison. We've only got like 5 prisoners left. And you think, why then would you bring the latest technology to a shitty rundown prison that's only got 5 people in it? That doesn't really make sense. But fine, whatever. That's just me being a dick and nitpicking. But anyway, so he's killed. He's executed. Obviously, they do the whole, it wasn't enough juice, we need to do it again sort of thing. So you get the whole.
Yeah.
I will say it's bloody. I don't know. I don't think this was a terribly expensive movie. I think it's very cheap, but the props are fucking great. The chair and the switch has got these like glowing, parts when they switch the electricity on and stuff. It's like, that's cool. That's a very good prop. I like that. So the uncle niece team are going to the prison to photograph the dead body. So they're hired to take this photograph, and they get there. It's a bit spooky. You get the impression that the niece, Emma, played by Aline Dalia, is maybe possibly a bit psychic.
Okay.
And she sees him move, but obviously he doesn't move. When she's looking through the camera, the body moves to look at her, and when she looks at him, it isn't. He hasn't moved. So they go back to process these photos, and there's a sort of weird blurring image. And first of all, he says, it's just a double sort of thing. Do it again. So she does it again. This time, however, the face looks like its eyes are open and it looks like it's looking right at you, sort of thing. It's like, this is remarkable. You then get this weird scene where it's almost like they're like at the Dragon's Den. They're stood in front of this bloke who's sat at a desk, and there's a guy behind him, and they're explaining they've created this I can't remember what they call it now, etherenium or whatever they call it, right? It's a little, it's this box that's connected to something that looks kind of like it's a wax cylinder recorder,
right?
So it's connected to that, and it's got lights on it, and it's a beautiful prop. I mean, it really scratches my steampunk itch completely. It's a lovely little prop. It's got little turny handles and dials and Tesla lights and all that sort of stuff. And he explains that this thing creates an ether that basically means that in a room where a ghost could possibly be, you can ask a question, and this wax cylinder will record what the answer is, and you can play it back immediately and get what the ghost is saying. The machine misfires, it breaks, and the guy behind the desk is like, well, this is a load of rubbish. We're not into this, blah blah blah. And in a sort of Dragon's Den thing's like, I'm not investing, and they bugger off.
Okay, sure.
So Rhys Davies' character then is like, oh, it was a bloody thing, fuck it, let's destroy it and not bother and not do all this sort of stuff. And then when they see the pictures, he's like, oh, maybe we should go to the thing and use the device and see if we can get this murderer to fucking answer our questions. Like, that does not sound like a good idea. let's not talk to the murderer.
Let's not jump to talking to the dead. No.
However, you see this one of the guys who was not sat at the desk, but in the back of the room, turns out to be this sort of medium, and basically one of the prisoners sort of hangs himself, and obviously weird things are going on, and oh no, so they call in this. He's like a paranormal detective. This guy is Lucian Aberton. Turns up, and they're all coming in to get the same time that the photographers turn up, and they're like, "Oh, we need to lock down the prison and let no one in and no one out." And it's like, "Oh no," sort of thing. And basically, you get like a sort of kind of seance thing, and there's a priest running around, and
this movie sounds kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
Honestly,
I'm kind of like, you're talking about it, and I'm like, this sounds like low budget but kind of fun.
I did enjoy it.
Yeah.
However, it's too long.
Okay.
It's nearly 2 hours long, and sometimes there are just scenes of them sat in rooms talking, but not even like interesting talking. They're just sort of
they're low budget movie talking. Yes.
And they don't kind of have their spiritual mythology down properly.
Okay, what? So like they change their mind about what things do or how things behave, or is it like an internal logic within the movie problem, or
it feels like they just hasn't developed it enough.
Okay.
They sort of suggest things, but they don't really do anything with it. They suggest that the niece is a sort of psychic, but again, they don't really do anything with it. It kind of feels like they're setting up for a sequel.
It will probably never happen.
Which will probably never happen.
Yeah.
John Rhys Davies is brilliant.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think he has. I mean, John Rhys Davies has been in some crap.
Oh, I've seen him put in some very bad performances where he's literally just turned up and said his lines. And
absolutely. You can tell when John Rhys Davies is not into something. Yeah. But when he is, even if it's a bad movie, when he is into the role, he's generally pretty good.
Yeah, I think he's feeling this one because he's very believable as this sort of, this is the cutting edge of science. It's not, it's not just mumbo jumbo, and it's not, it's this. We're in all these sort of things, and he's fully committed to this. Maybe because it's a Victorian character that he can put his voice to.
I was going to say his voice does suit the.
It feels. I mean, I don't know whether he ever has, but I think he would make a really good Cavor. Professor Cavor.
Yeah.
I think he'd make a great Professor Cavor. Anyway, that his character does feel not quite as eccentric as Cavor, but it does feel like that sort of kind of character. Some of the other performances are pretty dire. The guy who's the medium is pretty ropey. Again, they just don't. It feels like that they kind of had an idea, but they couldn't nail down exactly what he can do. You know what I mean? Like
they're a bit inconsistent with his abilities.
Yeah, it's sort of. Oh, it's just a little lacking. Richard Brake is criminally underused.
It's funny. He's someone that like really seemed to have this huge career ahead of him, and it just didn't quite pan out.
No, but he's certainly not shy of work.
No, that's true.
He's used in a lot of movies, so it's and he does for the whenever he's spewing black bile and just being monstrous. When he is, when you do see him, he's quite good, but it's fine, just terribly underused.
Yeah.
And the story beats you can see coming a mile off. There are some nice uses of natural light. I think natural light. If it's not natural light, it's very good lighting in some of the things. And then in other scenes, it feels very cobbled together. Overall, I really enjoyed it as a sort of Victorian Gothic-y ghost movie.
Yeah.
It does have some nice things that there's no spectacular deaths or anything. There's no sort of pushing any sort of great great death pieces. At times it feels very lackluster with some of the kills. Maybe that was just a budget thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it's kind of, especially if you like this sort of thing, I think it's worth watching just for Davis's performance and for Brake, really. It was a kind of fun, spooky ghost story that is all right if you like that sort of thing. I would say I couldn't recommend it as it's a must see horror movie.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
No, it's a sort of, if you feel like you need watch a horror movie, you could do a lot worse than this.
Yeah. Okay, so I will do Talk to Me. A film which I think was made in 2022 is only now getting a release in the UK. Mm-hmm. So I got an advanced screening to this one thanks to my housemate, and it's a Australian supernatural horror.
Okay. I did see the trailer and thought it looked interesting.
I hadn't seen it. My housemate actually said, "Hey, got this advanced screening for this film. Check out the trailer." And I saw the trailer. I was like, looks okay. Looks like a fun a fun horror movie. And it's it's one of those, like, it's just long enough to be classified as a film, kind of 1 hour 20 or whatever. So I was like, okay, fine. Let's go do it. And so we went to see it yesterday. And basically, it stars Sophie Wilde, who I have not seen in anything before. I looked up the other film she was in and shows she was in, and I was like, no, I've definitely not seen her before. This is the first time I've seen her. She is fantastic in this film. So the film centers around a girl called Mia, and her kind of adopted, her father, who she lives with part-time, and this kind of adopted family that she kind of lives with and spends a lot of time with. So her best friend Jade and her younger brother Riley, she spends a lot of time over at their house with their mum, and they've obviously got a very good relationship, and she's kind of treated like one of the family, basically. But effectively, they all go to this house party one night, including the younger brother Riley. So Jade is kind of sneaking out with Mia, and Riley kind of effectively blackmails her into coming to this.
What could possibly go wrong in a horror movie?
What could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So they go, and there's this guy, a couple of guys there in this house. One of them really hates Mia, called Daniel, but they're like, oh god, why did you bring her? She's kind of this, she's like us. She's the outcast of every party, and just kind of sits there quietly or tries awkwardly to make conversation. I sympathize as once being a teenager who was awkward and struggled with conversation. So she's trying desperately to fit in, and there's this new thing, the new party game, which is made very clear from the opening of this movie is fucking terrible idea. But anyway, there's a creepy hand, a creepy porcelain hand, and there are a number of rumors about the hand. It used to be a psychic's hand who could talk to the dead, and they cut off the hand and then they put it in porcelain. They embalmed it and then put it in porcelain. Or, oh no, it's actually a demon's hand and it was cut off and the other hand is out there somewhere, but this is the demon hand embalmed. But either way, there's this urban legend around this porcelain hand that if you light a candle and you hold the hand and you say, "Talk to me," the dead will talk to you. And if you say, I think it's "let me in," or "I let you in," then the spirit or a spirit can inhabit your body. And all the kids are doing it for viral TikToks. They're like, hey, you become possessed, but they've realized that if it's over like 80 seconds or whatever, then they ends up killing people. It's a bad idea. So the kids are all doing it for TikTok. And she's like, I'll do it. Sophia's like, I'll do it. And so she does. And she's creepy and her eyes go all black, and this happens in the opening as well. We see some other kids. This happens regularly. Their eyes go black and they start talking in demon tongues and saying demon things and acting all demony. But the kids love it for TikTok, so they do it, and the hand won't let go at the end of her session, so the hand holds on for too long, past the amount of time it should do. Right. Anyway, she says that this experience was wonderful. She loved the experience. She was like, I could see everything. It was like a drug high, effectively. And everyone else loved it because viral TikToks. They've got their phones out and they film people saying stupid things with black demon eyes, and it's hilarious. And that is effectively what this film, at its core, I think really is, and I think this film does it superbly. It really comments on the stupid TikTok video craze where these teenage kids and sometimes adults that should know better act really dumb and do really dumb things for clicks and likes online. It's that kind of thing where it's like, oh, I'll become a sensation if I do this stupid thing. I'll eat detergent or whatever they do.
It's kind of a step up just from the old Ouija board stuff, though, isn't it? It's just people, a bunch of kids at a party, pull out the thing.
Yeah. I remember doing the Ouija board as a kid. Yeah. But obviously now you've got camera phones, they all film you. And at first I was kind of like, well, this is ridiculous because their eyes are turning black and they're clearly not well, and this is clearly a creepy thing. Like, why would you continue? But then you kind of think, well, these kids do. Like, there is such a need for like fame and acceptance, and social media has kind of played such a big role in that. I think this film kind of speaks really well to that. And there's also an underlying theme of addiction as well, where certainly Mia becomes addicted to this, having this experience and this high and this trip. So these kids basically meet up every now and again in different locations, and they bring out this hand and they do this whole ceremony and thing. And honestly, this film does a very good job of I won't spoil too much because the week I will release this next week, so this will be the week that it gets released, so super early, so I don't want to spoil anything too much. But this film does a fantastic job of, it certainly did for me when I was watching it, of making me feel like I was just watching a teeny movie, a teeny horror film where not much was going to happen because it's a teeny horror film, one of those like PG-13 horror films. Yeah. Kind of feels like that. And then it all kicked off and I was like, oh, wow. I kind of felt like this film didn't have teeth to begin with. Yeah. And it lulled me in to that point, and then I was like, oh no, it really does. I won't ruin the story. I actually thought the story was pretty tight. It's a very short film. It's like, I think it's 95 minutes. Went by really quickly. I thought the pacing was fine. The cast, as we always say these days, these child casts, I mean, I think Sophia is like 23-ish or something now, so I guess she would have been like late teens when she filmed, probably. But these kids are amazing these days. Like they put most adult actors to shame, But I actually thought this film was really good fun.
Seeing it's got Miranda Otto in it.
It does. She plays the one of the two adults in the film. She's the mother of her friend Jade. She's superb, obviously, as you would expect. She's a really lovely, fun-going mother who then experiences tragedy, and you see her kind of. She's another one of those very talented actors that can really do grief as well as kind of comedy, and she's very good in this, very good, as you would expect. But all of the kids are superb in this film. I thought they were all really good. I thought it was really well shot. I thought the cinematography was great. It's done, I think, their first time. It's their first feature film, I think. It's two brothers, Danny and Michael Philippou. They're from Adelaide, and I think when I looked it up, this is their first full-length film. I think they've worked on other projects. Sorry?
Good start, then.
A fantastic start. Oh, yeah, that's right. So they helped, I think, with The Babadook originally.
Oh, okay.
So this is their movie. I guess they were just helping out with that, or they were part of the same production company or whatever.
Yeah.
So this is their first full outing, and it's really good. I mean, as I said to Nick as we left the cinema, I said, so often I see these movies, and like I just said with The Flash, but not even with The Flash. I mean, The Flash is not something I would normally watch anyway, so not really my thing. But even when I watch a lot of movies that are my thing these days, I watch them and I'm like, oh, that was really good. And I say on this show, oh, that was really fun. And I have no intention of ever watching it ever again. This film, when it comes to streaming, I will probably watch this again. I genuinely enjoyed this movie.
That's a damn good...
Yeah. It's a really fun little horror movie.
Well, I think it was going to be one of those ones where I might have caught it because I thought the trailer was okay.
I would say it's worth it. It's a short movie, so it's not going to take much of your time. I thought the cast were superb, especially Sophie Wilde. I'm really won over by her. I'm hoping she goes on to do big things. She's one of those actresses you see and you're like, yeah, she could be great. So yeah, I really enjoyed this movie. It's a very simple, urban myth premise. I think is framed really nicely around this kind of social media craze, the kind of TikTok craze stuff, which seems to get more and more extreme with kids every year at the moment from whatever I see. Whenever I see stuff, I guess because I'm not on TikTok or anything, I guess I only ever see the really extreme stuff. Because I know my ex used to be on TikTok, and she was like, "Oh, it's just silly dances and stuff," and I'm like, "That's not what I ever see." So I guess I see the more extreme stuff. But
the only stuff I see is what It's a Gundam shows.
Okay.
And some of the stuff he shows is like the last one I saw was I think it was girls talking like Sims.
Talking? Oh, okay. Oh, what? Like, because the sim language. Sims, yeah, because they've got
the
like
language that they have. I think they were doing that and kiddie pools and making weird noises. It's like,
oh, what? Like in real life, but acting like Sims. That's kind of funny.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Well, it's better than eating detergent or whatever they used to do.
Yeah,
I remember that craze when it was like, eat Tide Pods. It's like, no, that will kill you. That's a terrible idea.
I did see a couple of the ones with the was it the cinnamon challenge?
What's the cinnamon? Dare I ask what the cinnamon challenge is?
It's basically you eat a massive spoonful of cinnamon.
Okay.
How long you can?
Sure.
If you can actually swallow it. And
yeah.
Some of the reactions to some was actually quite hilarious.
Yeah.
And it makes perfect sense in a horror movie. That
it really does, because you get that initial reaction of like, why wouldn't you just be like, she's actually possessed though? This is not like a Ouija board. Her eyes have gone all black and her skin's got all weird, and like she's actually, saying really creepy stuff, and it's like she's clearly actually possessed.
Deaded out.
Yeah, she's evil. Not that extreme, but but then you think like, well, yeah, I kind of could buy that the kids these days might actually just go with it because TikTok. and I can film it. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. Really little to say. I don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah.
Because when it, there is much more to the movie. Not much more, but there is more to the movie than what I'm telling you here. Things progress and things happen. Mia, I will say, Mia's mother died 2 years prior, and she has a very rocky relationship with her father because of that. He found her, but she's convinced there's something more that happened there. Effectively, it's seemingly a suicide that Mia refuses to accept is a suicide and believes otherwise.
Yeah.
But I won't say any more about where that goes or how things come together. But I genuinely really, really enjoyed this movie. I had a really good time. It was nice being in a packed cinema as well. Because this was a free screening. It was one of those, like, if you're a Sky... my housemate Nick said, oh, it's a competition. Entered the competition. And then I got there and I was like, so the competition, because it was packed, I was like, so the competition was, if you're a Sky customer and apply, you're in. That's the whole competition, I think. Because it was busy.
It just goes to show how well free does go. Though,
yeah. I mean, there were people there that I'm sure never watch horror movies, but they were like, it's free. I'm going, It was weird, though, being in a packed cinema, because it's been a long time since that's happened.
Did anybody leave?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe.
Because sometimes that's a good way of telling a horror movie.
It's hard
if
to
people who
say.
don't watch horror movies are watching a horror movie and they leave, that's a really good sign. I always think.
Yeah, it's hard to say because there weren't planned seats like you have normally nowadays. So it was back to the, where should we sit? Oh, where should we sit? So there was like 10-15 minutes of that at the start of the film where people turned up at the time the film was starting and were going around with camera phones, like with flashes on, going like, where should we sit? Where can I sit? And it's like, no, do the fucking shameful thing like we always do. You've turned up late, sit at the fucking front and be uncomfortable for the whole movie. That's what we used to do. It's like, well, it's my own fault. I'm late. I will just quietly, no, I need to walk around with the torch on my camera, annoying everyone in the screening for 10 minutes, deciding where I want to sit, of course. On
the odd occasion when I have been late to a film.
Yeah,
I've been so embarrassed.
Just shameful. You just like
sit in the doorway I have to.
Yeah, sit in the nearest seat, shut up, and just deal with it. I remember having neck ache from watching a movie because I got in late and I was just right down the front. I'm like, fine, it's my own fault. Should have got there earlier. It's my fault. But no, you got to walk around with the torch on your phone, annoying everyone in the packed screening. Of course.
Oh god, I hate that.
I don't know how many of them, because some of them I think just left in the end, because again they didn't pay for it, so I guess they were like, oh fuck it,
yeah,
like,
that's true.
Leave. So I'm not sure how many of them in the first, because it opens with a bit of horror, so I don't know how many of them just left because they couldn't be bothered to find a seat. But it was weird. I said to my housemate, weirdly I had X-Men 2 flashbacks, which is weird. I don't know why specifically. Yeah, I don't know why I specifically had X-Men 2 flashbacks, but I remember seeing the premiere of X-Men 2 and being sat there waiting for the film to start in a packed theater, and for some reason it just I was like, oh, this reminds me of the premiere of X-Men 2, and I don't know why, but it just did. But yeah, it was fun being in a packed theater again, and a really good film. So highly recommend it when it is out. By the time this episode airs, it will be out this Friday in the cinema, I think. So it's worth a watch for sure.
I had a mortifying experience.
Oh, go on.
The Lighthouse.
I love The Lighthouse. That was a great movie.
I thought I was late.
Were you at the screening before?
No. So what? Almost everybody was sat down. It was full, and the only chair that was free was the other side of the room.
Okay.
And I thought, oh god, what am I going to do? Because it was dark and I couldn't quite see where to go. So I thought, okay, fuck this. I am going to be a little rude. And I will just go down the aisle.
I'm going to walk down the aisle and annoy every single person from here to the other end of the room.
Because I thought the film was literally about to start.
Oh, I see. So you thought, I haven't got time to go all the way around.
Yes.
Because the film will start.
That anyway, because it was so dark in there. I couldn't see where the The
So
aisles
you were there at a time when it would have been acceptable to get a torch out.
Yes.
It would have been fine because the film hadn't started and everyone would have
So
been fine
all
with that.
these people get up on this the length of this fucking aisle, and I sat there feeling really super embarrassed, right?
Oh, no.
And then the lights came up.
What?
Yeah. And I could see everyone around, and I could see there were people were coming in late, and they were going all the way round and coming and sitting next to me, and I could see the whole aisle looking at me, and I was thinking, oh,
why did the lights come back up?
I don't know.
Weird.
I don't know why they were down.
Maybe they realised they were like, "There's some fuck who's annoying absolutely everyone down there. Put the lights back on."
I was so fucking mortified.
Oh no!
And I felt because the stupid thing is that if there would have been a bit more light, and I would have been clever enough to get my fucking phone out, I could have seen that all I had to do was walk down to the front.
It's an honest mistake.
The front and then come up the other side, and I wouldn't have bothered anybody. It would have been fine. But it was. Oh, I was. So
it looked like you were making a point of annoying everyone in the whole row.
It looked like I was genuinely just being a dick.
Oh,
and
no.
I was so mortified.
Now, last night, I will say, getting your camera light out when the film started is unacceptable, but I understand why they made the mistake. Because this was a free screening put on by Sky.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming effectively Sky bought the screen for the night. They rented the screen from Showcase. So there were no trailers. So I think people probably came like half an hour in thinking the movie's just about to start. And it was like, no, the movie's on because there were no trailers at all. The film just started. Because I said to Nick on the way in, I was like, well, surely there'll be just like a million Sky trailers. But then as the film started, I was like, oh no, of course. Everyone here is a Sky customer, so there's no point. Like they're just like, here, have a free movie. So yeah, there was no trailers, which is why I think a lot of people turned up later. But anyway,
they must have distribution on it then. If they're
I'm assuming so. I don't know. It's
they must have some money in it. I would have thought if they're giving it away for free.
Yeah, what's the name of the company? A24 was the
okay, so it's the it's a pretty good company. A24.
Yeah, they're a good company. When I saw the trailer, I thought, oh, actually, that looks pretty good. And I saw that it was A24, and I was like, well, actually, A24 generally do pretty good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what the deal is. I mean, it might just be a loss leader, and that Sky just want to advertise that, hey, we give away free cinema tickets every now and again, and whatever. But I was certainly happy to take it. The last advanced screening I had for a film was nowhere near as good as this one, so this was fun. It was really good. So yeah, I highly recommend Talk to Me when you when you get a chance to see it.
Yeah.
What else have you been watching?
So I also watched 12 Mighty Orphans.
12 Mighty Orphans.
So it's been out for a couple of years, this one, but it's new to Netflix, and I saw the sort of trailer for it, and I thought, you know what, I'm in the mood for that sort of thing. It was a sort of I don't really do sports. I'm not a sports fan, but I do like a good sports movie.
Me too. I'm exactly the same as you. I'm
different. I actually do like boxing, and I like boxing movies.
Sure.
But
like American football, I have no interest in, but I will watch like The Longest Yard or something. I'll be like, oh, fine, whatever.
When I was in the mid to late 80s, when I was a kid, I actually did get into American football for a bit. It was one of those sort of random things, and the Chicago Bears were the team at the time, and I fucking loved the Fridge. So I kind of got into, for a few years, American football.
It's really big these days in England.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people that are really into it now, like super into it.
Honestly, I'd much rather watch American football than traditional football.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But then I'd rather watch rugby. So
I'm not fucking calling it soccer. The Americans. It's not fucking soccer. It's football. But I'd much rather watch American football than normal football.
Yeah.
It's just I hate football. It's this. I know that it's a similar thing with Americans. They have their same overpaid people and stupid companies, and I know it's the same sort of thing, really.
Of course.
When you get down to it, but I just find it a much more interesting game. Anyway, so this is based on a true story. In the 1930s, during the Great Depression, a teacher and coach is moving to a orphanage to teach, the orphan kids, basically to teach them how to play football. And his wife is an English teacher, so they've packed up. You get the impression that the wife isn't terribly happy to be there. They seem to have had a nice job and life where they were.
Yeah.
But Luke Wilson is the main guy, Rusty Russell. Over the movie, you realize that he was an orphan himself, and he kind of you get the impression he wants to do something for orphans. He wants to maybe have the opportunity that he probably didn't have himself. So so much. So they get this, they get there, and there are this group of orphans. It's narrated by and also starring Martin Sheen, who plays the doctor at this orphanage, and he's a drunk, but he's a nice guy, and he seems to treat the orphans quite well. He's a good sort of mentor figure for them, even though he drinks too much. And you've also got Wayne Knight playing Frank Gwynn, and Wayne Knight is on full asshole duty here. he is
excellent.
He is loathsome. He is horrible. He takes great delight in hitting the kids and just being a general asshole, because he gets to run. He runs a print shop, and basically he's taking advantage of the orphans. He's using them as slave labor, basically.
Yeah.
He's getting money, and he's obviously pocketing it. So Rusty Russell, Luke Wilson's character, they get there, and obviously they've got no field. They do have a field, but it's not. It was used for great goat grazing at some point, and it's just mostly stones.
Yeah.
None of the kids have played football before, and also at first he says, "Where are their shoes?" And the doc says, "Well, it depends on the season." He's like, "What?" He says, "Well, there's two seasons here. There's shoe season and there's not shoe season." Like, oh, right, it's that sort of fucking orphanage. Okay. But he's convinced that, college football in America is huge. It's ridiculously huge over there. And he's convinced that he can get these orphans into their the league. And first, they get to the thing, and the board that runs it, and the board's like, "No, you can't. Orphans are terrible." It's explained at the beginning that orphans were seen as the lowest of the low.
Yeah.
If you were an orphan, you were probably going to turn out to be a terrible, awful person, and orphans were spat on, that sort of thing. And they say, you can't do this, and through the fact that Rusty is known to them, he's coached good teams before, and he knows some of the guys there. He gets a vote passed where they accept that they can have a team, but they must be able to pass a certain written and maths test. Otherwise, they're not eligible.
Right.
So they go back, and there's one of the kids in particular. Who just sort of turned up, Hardy Brown. He witnessed the murder of his father, and his mother. As soon as his dad died, his mother went, "Okay, I'm fucking off." So she left, and she left. He ends up getting taken to the orphanage, and he's a real hothead, and he's one of those. Someone says something, he'll punch them. type kids. He obviously can't read or write, basically. You get the impression that he can't do that sort of thing. So Rusty and his wife do all they can to get these kids as educated as they possibly can to pass this test. In the end, it turns out that only 12 of them pass the test.
Right.
So they got a team that consists of too few people really, but they get away with it. There's some back and forth. There's another guy who is another team's the sort of the top team's coach, who's another real boo-hiss asshole. He's a rival of Rusty's, and he's like, oh, you and your orphans and all that sort of blah blah blah. Right. Eventually, the Wayne Knight's character is all trying to get them stop because it's interfering with his money, and he's does underhand tricks and to get them kicked out, and there's this sort of to and fro. But what happens is that this team of orphans, during the Depression, they seem to give hope to people. People kind of flock to them. They're seen as like, well, God, if this team who don't have fucking shoes and their uniforms are homemade and pretty much ragged, if they can, do this and almost win, and as they go along, actually start winning games, because the coach sees that he needs a new plan, so they have this shifting line back that the other coaches are like, you can't do that, it's fucking illegal. It's like, of course he can, as long as they've got enough players. The refs are like, yeah, they can, as long as they've got enough players to do it, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah,
in respect. So these, the things that they were doing ended up being plays that were used by everybody. And I won't spoil the overall thing. I mean, it's a true story, so obviously it's been a bit jiggered and pokered a bit, but I loved this movie. It's not a great sports movie. What it is a genuine, honest to goodness story of kids that would not have had an opportunity and would have ended up in terrible places. Were given the opportunity by this guy to better themselves, to educate themselves, and to just be genuinely good, lovely people. I mean, one of the things I will spoil is that these kids, some of the things they went on to afterwards, some of them continued as professionals. One of them ended up working on the Manhattan Project.
Right.
And it's like, wow, it's a really good, solid, fun sports movie. I really enjoyed it, and I would say if you're into this sort of thing, if you like a good, struggle movie with great acting, brilliant performances, Luke Wilson, he's great. Is this? He's a guy who is clearly damaged from the First World War as well.
Sure.
He's not really spoiling anything, but his brother, when he was left at the orphanage, he was left with his older brother, and his older brother looked after him. And when you get to the First World War, through things that happen, he has these hang-ups and these issues that he has himself with what happened to him. It was really good. I really enjoyed it. It's like I said, it's not anything spectacular. It's not going to, win any great awards or anything. But what it is an honest to goodness sports triumph over odds story. I really enjoyed it. It's really fun.
I enjoy those kind of movies anyway, like you. I feel like I'm kind of predisposed to like this.
And it's what I about it was especially the whole sort of, you know, at the moment we're not getting so many good sort of father figures for kids, and we're not getting that whole sort of kids. These kids, if they life is shit, life is tough. But if you know knuckle down and you're willing to do what you need to, this is what could happen. And I loved that. I think it's really good for that. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, no, it looks fun, and like I said, I'm kind of I'm the target audience, I think, for this kind of film. So sounds good. Well, I finished off because I came this far. Jack Ryan season 4.
I still have not seen season 3. I'm behind because my wife wants to watch it as well.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
Yeah.
Trying to get my wife to watch the same thing is at the moment we're watching Fringe. She's got a Fringe thing, so we're rewatching that. It's like I really want to get onto this.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I've pretty much enjoyed all of these series so far, all the seasons.
Yeah.
I think the third one I wasn't as keen on as I was the first and second, but I still really loved it. No change here. I thought season 4, it's a shorter season but long episodes, if that makes sense. It's like a shorter season, but they're hour long. They're almost like movie long episodes. I thoroughly enjoyed this season too. I won't go into too many spoilers, especially as you've not seen it. But I think it's a good send off. Because obviously this is the final season. I think it's a good send off to all of the cast. I've kind of they've endeared themselves to me, all of them at this point. I think this season works particularly well because they've made it clear it's the last season. So as you were saying with Guardians 3, along with that, this is the final season, comes that real fear of like, oh, actually, this could end with people dying, right? So when you have characters in situations, and there are some very tense situations in this show, you do get that feeling of like, oh god, what if it could happen. And they do a very good job, as this show always has, of ramping up tension. Some scenes in particular, you get a couple of really good shots of use of like camera footage, like body cams or security footage, and you get some scenes where friends or colleagues are watching the footage but can't warn or say anything, so you've got that kind of added tension to scenes as well. Right. I think this was a really good, this has been a great show, to be honest, from beginning to end.
I mean, the 3 main leads, Krasinski, Wendell Pierce, and Michael Kelly.
They're perfect.
So fucking good.
They really are. They really are absolutely fantastic. I particularly, obviously, Krasinski's fantastic as Jack. My personal favorite character is Greer, played by Wendell Pierce. I think he's fucking brilliant in the role.
Wendell Pierce is so fucking awesome.
He really is. Yeah.
Buck is one of my favorite characters in The Wire.
Yes. Yeah. He is superb in this show and continues to be through this season. I was really glad that it kind of felt by the end of it, I was like, no, this feels good. There are certainly some they've really amped up the action towards the end, as you kind of expect from a season finale, right? Series finale, I should say. Some of that gets kind of like, I mean, there is a scene towards the end where a character is tortured quite badly and then seems fine almost immediately later. Now, I don't know whether that was meant to be moments later or like hours later or a day later, or whether it's meant to be more time than that. But given the situation that's occurring, you kind of feel like this is almost the next day. And I feel like they'd be a bit sore still, just throwing it out there. There's some of that 24 kind of feel vibe coming in.
Well, as long as it doesn't get to John Wick levels.
No, it's not that bad. It's just it's one scene in particular, a couple of scenes in particular that really kind of jumped out like that. But for the most part, this it's consistently good as the previous seasons were. It's a great send off to all of the casting characters. I do think you do get lost in the weeds a little during this season. Like I don't want to say that it goes off on tangents because they do ultimately tie them back in.
Right.
But there are a few points where I was kind of like, can we get back to the main story? Why are we doing this? Like, what's going on? Or I kind of want to see what's going on back with the main thing. But they do link it back, so it's not like it was for nothing. It's not like they go nowhere. But yeah, for the most part, I won't say any spoilers, but for the most part, I thought it was a really good series. All of them, actually. I highly recommend the whole show now that we finished it.
I'm trying to get my wife to commit to watching the last two seasons.
They're well worth it. I mean, I really liked season 1 and 2. I thought were absolutely superb.
Yeah, one's such a great, a real surprise to how good that first season is, and it's still vaguely surprising how good an action star John Krasinski is. I mean, it shouldn't be at this point because we've seen him enough.
Yeah, I mean, he really bulked up and got in shape. He looks the part.
Never in a million years would you would put him in. I think
it's a funny thing because he's meant to be like an ex. I mean, he is ex army, right? With a broken back. I think that's what it was, and then he got retired from that. But it is kind of like he is meant to be an analyst, and he does kind of look like he would rip your head off in this show. He's got that look. You're like, wow, you're a very in shape looking analyst, my friend. I think he's one of my favorite portrayals of Jack Ryan now, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think he's up there. I don't know where you rank your Jack Ryans. I feel like for me, it's kind of he's like up there with like Harrison Ford, kind of.
Yeah,
around there.
That's it. Harrison Ford is probably, even though he was, how many was he in? Was he in 2 movies?
2? I want to say 2.
One of them was pretty fucking bad.
Yeah, but he's good in it. It's another one of those
Yes, that is true. He's not bad because of him. Yeah, and I don't know, because what's it? Even though he's fallen out of favor because he's an asshole.
Alec Baldwin.
Yes, Baldwin is a pretty good portrayal as well.
I thought he was fine. I mean, I love Hunt for Red October is amazing.
Yeah,
that's and Ben Affleck was fine. The only one I have not seen the Chris Pine one at all. I don't think I've ever seen it.
I have, and I remember nothing about it.
Well, there you go. That probably says everything we need to know, because the rest were memorable enough that.
Yeah, I do not remember. I know I've seen that movie, and I do not remember anything about it at all. Huh. God, that's really bad.
Yeah. Well,
I'd actually almost forgotten that he was.
But no, I thought
they really set that up to be this is the new one. We're going to do a whole franchise. He's going to be.
Well, this has always been the problem with Jack Ryan. It's always been like, but a movie or two later, they will recast and it'll be a different Jack Ryan.
He's almost a fucking Time Lord, isn't he? Really?
He kind of is, but it's so nice to have a show now come along and be like, no, this is Jack Ryan, and we're telling a story with Jack Ryan, and we're going to go out on our own terms and have 4 seasons. And it's great. It's like, okay, we've got some really good Jack Ryan show where we're not changing an actor every season. It's not a different Jack Ryan every time. It's like, oh no, yeah, cool.
Yeah.
But even the new characters they've added, because they added Betty Gabriel as Elizabeth in season 3.
Okay.
She's great. I thought she was going to be awful at first, and she's actually really great, and she's carried over into season 4. So even as they've added new characters. As we've gone along, I've really enjoyed it. It's been a really good show, and yeah, season 4 is no different. Definitely recommend catching up.
I mean, I'm definitely going to watch it. It's just
well, we can
take some time.
We can talk more about it when you have, because by then we can do spoilers and whatever as well. So I know we spoiled the shit out of The Flash earlier, but who gives a fuck, really?
Cool.
So what else have you watched?
So I am aware that we've been going for a long time, so I'll try and make this one quite short.
It's fine.
So I've seen Robots. which is
Robots.
on
Don't
Amazon at the
don't
moment.
forget, I did feed my cat halfway through this podcast.
Oh, yes.
There was a break for that. Now, if you remove the bit of time when I had to go and feed my cat, which will be removed from this recording, it's probably you could probably shave a good 5 minutes off for that. So anyway, robots.
So not to be confused with the cartoon robots
No.
from I think the early 2000s. So this is Jack Whitehall and Shailene Woodley, and basically it starts off with with literally them putting the wall up between America and Mexico.
Okay. I was going to say there's only a couple of options there, so it's one or the other.
It's basically they've it's sort of slightly in the future sort of thing, and he said Tesla. Obviously they make a dig at Tesla. Tesla has created robots, so now they don't need the labor anymore.
I'm assuming it's not Tesla in the film.
No, I'm pretty sure he says Tesla.
Oh, they actually call it. Okay, fair enough.
No, I'm pretty sure they say Tesla.
Okay.
So they've made robots, so they don't need the influx of Mexicans anymore. So they've built the wall and they've sent the Mexicans back to Mexico, and now they've got free, labor for all the shitty jobs. And we are introduced to Charles Cameron, Jack Whitehall's character, and then a bit later Eileen, who is Shailene Woodley, and it is illegal to have a robot duplicate of yourself. You see that on the news, some guy has been caught with a robot duplicate, and he's basically getting 40 years in prison for having a robot duplicate. They thought it was very odd, apparently, when this old guy beat the world marathon record or something, and they thought it was a little bit suspicious.
Right, so they didn't. So this guy did the illegal thing, but then didn't think I better keep my head down.
Yeah.
He was like, "No, I'm going to win the Olympics."
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, I think people might figure it out.
So, Charles is a complete douchebag who basically goes to the ice rink, bumps into pretty girls, and then he gets his robot to date them up to the point where they want to have, his robot is lovely and charming and nice.
Is everything he's not, I'm assuming.
Exactly. And when they get to the point where, hey, let's go back to my place and let's do the deed, as it were, he says, no, we'll do it tomorrow. So he goes back home, and then obviously the douchebag sleeps with the girl, and then goes, I can fit you in like next week if you in a month's time if you want to see me again, and then he goes and does the same thing again.
Right.
However, his next victim, as it is, it turns out she too has a double, and what she does is the opposite, almost the opposite. She basically gets them to pay for all her things, and then when it gets to the sex part, she swaps for her double.
This is quite a fun setup. I like this.
Yeah, so her double does the sex part, and she just gets the Gucci bags and Louis Vuitton, whatever, What then happens is
so these robots are like Data. They're fully functional.
Oh yeah, they're complete.
Are they like Cylon-y, like indistinguishable kind of thing?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
All the standard models look like people wearing masks.
Okay, so like the advanced model have faces, is that?
Well, no, it looks like all the ones that are like wandering around are service models and stuff. They just look like people in masks, really. They're just very rubbery and a bit sort of freaky looking, if you like. There's a scene where you see he's like the robot version is walking along, going to work, and there's a rubbish collectors, and one of them starts malfunctioning, and the guy, obviously there's a human driver, he comes out of the truck and says to the other two robots, "Oh, just get rid of him," and they just literally pick up this poor malfunctioning robot and just chuck him in the back of the truck and crush him and just carry on doing what they're doing. So through a mix-up, he's supposed to go to. I mean, he's the job he has. I can't remember what it is, but it's the job he's got. His robot's doing really well at. So there's a bit where his boss comes in and says, "Hey, you've really bucked up your ideas in the last couple of months. You've been a real joy to work with, and all this sort of stuff. Why don't you come to this meeting and meet the bosses? You know, it's tonight." And it's like, "Oh damn!" But tonight, I'm having sex with this girl tonight. Yeah. So he realizes he rushes home. He gets there and he gets the addresses wrong. So he mixes up the addresses. So he ends up going to the meeting, and the robot ends up going to the sex meeting. So he obviously makes a complete dick of himself.
Yes, of course.
He walks into the room with the lights off and mentions, he says, "I want you to lick Nutella off my privates," and then the lights are put on, and there's all these bosses sort of staring at him. And of course, the robot is having sex with what turns out to be another robot.
Yeah.
Well, what happens is, it's supposed to be every night they get not exactly wiped, but they plug themselves in, and I think it's supposed to purge their emotions, basically.
Sure.
But what happens is these two robots fall in love with each other, and they decide they're going to go on the run. So in Mexico, robots are free. If robots
get over the border,
if they go over the border, they can be free. And then what happens is,
it's the plot to all big films involving big illegal things in America. Just go over the border.
But interestingly, you don't follow the robots as much.
Oh, okay. Because I assumed at that point the movie would be follow the robots through their.
So the Jack White, the Charles character, he tracks. He's like, I got to find. He's not there to give me my tablets and booze in the morning when he wakes up. So he's like pissed off. So he's like, he goes to the house where Shailene Woodley's character is, and she's phoning her robot saying, "Has he left the house? Can I come in now? Is it safe for me to bloody come back in?" And of course, she's getting no response. So they come in, and of course, they meet each other and
argue briefly, then realize they're both doing the same thing.
Yeah, they're like, they don't know how much they've seen of each other and whether they should have left at some point or what.
Right, yeah.
So obviously, basically, then the robots basically set them up. The robots murder a load of people.
Oh God!
And they, they're set up for it. They're like, shit. That means we're gonna have to run away.
Yeah.
So what then ensues is them becoming better people.
Okay.
Because she's a terrible gold digger and he's just a douchebag.
He's awful. Yeah. I mean, I was going to say he's pretty reprehensible, to be honest. Yeah.
And I won't spoil what happens in the end. But I really enjoyed it. It's actually genuinely funny.
Fun. Yeah, it sounds like a fun concept.
It depends on whether you can put up with Jack Whitehall's rich douchebag shtick.
Yeah, well, he does that well. To be
exactly,
fair.
It can be hit and miss. I mostly like his stuff. The stuff where he goes around with his dad, I can completely.
I've not watched it. I saw the trailer and no.
I've seen a couple of episodes. It's fine. It's all right, but yeah. But some of his stand up is actually genuinely funny, and I think he, for most of it, I liked him in Fresh Meat. The teacher thing was, but if you can put up with that, Shailene Woodley's charming as fuck. I've seen her in quite a few movies, and I've always actually found her quite a charming presence. I think she's actually a pretty good actress, and she's really good and fun in this. And there are bits like they've discovered that the person who made their their doubles is the same guy, so they get him involved. And there's a thing with no, I'm not gonna spoil that. That's actually, but that's incredible. There's some really incredibly funny stuff when they're trying to set something up, and I'm not gonna spoil it. There's his best mate who's this. He's called Fat. He calls himself Fat Ninja, who was an army chef, but thinks he was some sort of super duper soldier and thinks he's on missions and stuff. But he sort of turns up and actually genuinely does some really funny things, and it becomes very useful in certain points. It's actually really fun. I really enjoyed it. It's only an hour. It's an hour and a half, which is just the right amount of time. I don't think you ever feel bored. There are lots of cliche stuff in it, but there was also I thought it was great that you're actually following them more than the robots. I mean, obviously the robots turn up as well. You are following them too, but you're following these two douchey characters becoming better people, and I really loved it. I thought it was good fun.
No, sounds cool. Well, are you still there?
I am.
You went very quiet then. I was like, oh, have I lost you? Am I on my own? No, that sounds fun. I might actually give that a watch soon. That sounds cool. But yes, I believe that is everything.
Not much to talk about.
No, not really.
Other than we talked about the and that was bloody called that.
The Creator.
Thank you. The Creator. We talked about catching the Creator trailer.
I think it looks superb. Yeah.
Absolutely fantastic looking.
I mean, like I said, it does feel like it takes every stereotype, every stereotypical sci-fi trope that it possibly could.
Yeah.
But that said, it looks like it's doing a very good job with them.
Mean, it's Gareth Edwards, which is a bonus.
Yeah, I like his direction generally.
And what I loved about the designs is it's very. I've got a couple of those sci-fi books with paintings of ships and things in. You know, the sort of from the sort of 70s and 80s. Mm-hmm. Those sort of really cool designs, and the designs look just like that. They're like those really cool fucking sleek designs that I thought were really cool. The robots look like the ones from that. I think is he Swedish? There's those really cool ones, paintings of I'm going to say Scandinavian because I can't remember where he's on. But it's like robots in real settings. You know what I mean?
Yes, yeah, I know.
They did that. Amazon did that really cool fucking series for one season based on his works, and it was really good. I really loved that show, and I'm blanking on what it is, but the designs reminded me of that. This looks like one that I'd go for the cinema for.
I was thinking the same. I think it definitely has. Certainly, it feels like a spectacle film. It feels like something I want to see on the big screen.
Yep.
I'm kind
as well. Ralph Ineson, Gemma Chan, Alison Janney, John David Washington, Ken Watanabe.
Yeah.
Briefly seen in the background of one shot. I think it looks really interesting. I'm totally up for that one. That looks fun. That looks pretty fun.
Yeah, definitely up for that. It looks really, really
I saw the Gran Turismo trailer as well. I thought that was.
I had no idea that was a true story, or based on a true story.
I did. I'd forgotten.
I never knew that.
Like, I did know. Read something about that when it happened. So honestly, I wouldn't go to the cinema to see it, but I'd give it a go.
Well, now that I know what the story is, I'm more inclined to see it. Yes. Originally, I was like, I have no interest. Like, I have as much interest in seeing it as I do seeing Need for Speed. Right? No, I don't need to see it. But now I'm like, oh, it was based on a true story. It seems kind of compelling, and yeah, probably one day I'll watch it on Netflix or something.
We didn't, like 2 weeks ago, we completely forgot, but we didn't discuss the Superman casting.
Yes, so again, I thought we did, but I guess it was off air, as we tend to do. So Superman has been cast. He looks like young Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
So that's fine. I don't know anything that the guy's been in, so I can't comment.
The only thing I've seen him in was Pearl. He was the projectionist in Pearl. David Corin Swent, I think I pronounced that. And he was it was quite a small part. He was pretty good in the part that he was. I mean, slight spoilers, gets terribly murdered in it by Pearl.
As you would expect.
Rachel Brosnahan, however, I've seen all of Miss Maisel, and I love Miss Maisel. She is brilliant in that. I think she will make a really good sassy Lois.
Yeah.
I think that is great casting. I'm really happy with that casting. Weird things I am hearing about this Superman movie, though, is Nathan Fillion's been cast as Guy Gardner in it. Which I thought was odd.
Yeah.
Because Nathan Fillion, he's voiced... for fuck's sake. Oh, fuck, why can't I remember his name? I'll say proper Green Lantern.
Hal?
My Green Lantern, thank you, Hal Jordan. My Green Lantern. I know he's voiced Hal in a couple of the cartoons, if I remember rightly, and certainly one of the Green Lantern movies he has. And I can actually see him as, I mean, he's getting older, but I could see him as Hal. I can't see him as Guy. Seems a very interest. They've also got Mr. Terrific in it, which it's like, why are they putting all these weird characters in a Superman movie?
Yeah.
This is a bit weird.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, I think he's making some odd choices anyway, so I guess we'll just see.
Very odd choices, but casting wise, I think they've made some pretty good choices there, actually. Yeah.
I'll probably give it a go.
Yeah. The other trailer, of course, we didn't talk about, but we haven't talked about on the last show. Because it wasn't out then. It was out last week. The Napoleon trailer.
Yes. So, I'm unsure. I think I'm almost certainly going to see this in a cinema.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big Ridley Scott fan, not so much of some of his more recent work, but I still think he's one of the greatest living directors.
Yes.
And
he's directed my favourite film of all time, so...
Two of mine. Alien and Blade Runner were easily always in my top 5, actually. That never changes. I know last week I said Wicker Man's my number 5 and it switches. Alien and Blade Runner are always in my top 5.
Yeah, so always my number 1. That's the only thing that never changes.
So yeah, I think he's a fantastic director. I think it's, if nothing else, it's going to be very well directed. I think Napoleon...
It's historical epic.
Yeah, and the story of Napoleon is a really interesting story. I'm curious how much of his life it follows and which bits they keep and which bits they don't. And
that trailer alone, you see things like his rise. You see his.
I'm wondering if it is going to be like a rise and fall kind of thing.
I think it looks like it's going to be, because there's a shot of a square forming which looks very Waterloo.
Oh, they're going to do Waterloo. There's no way they're not going to do Waterloo.
I think they're going to get up to Elba and stuff. I mean, I love the Napoleonic Wars. I like it. I like history. Napoleon and Wellington and stuff in particular. I have a love for. And I mean, have you ever seen Waterloo?
Yeah.
Film? Fucking love that movie. It's way too long.
Mm-hmm.
It's way too overblown, but I fucking love that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, if it is anywhere near as good as that is, I mean, I can understand why people would not want it to see, but I'm interesting to see what mass appeal it has.
Yes, that is going to be interesting. Although I think Ridley Scott is at that age and wealth where he's like, fuck you, I'm making what I want.
I don't think he gives a fuck.
And I think studios trust him, so they're just going to give him the money anyway.
I don't think he'll care that much.
No.
I think it's more of of a, the case of whether it will do well because it's a Scott movie.
Well,
it's a known it's a widely known historical figure.
Yes.
In recent times, historicals haven't done terribly well.
No, but then this does feel like the kind of movie you'd want to see in the cinema. It might bring people back to the cinema. You never know.
I mean, it looks like there's going to be a lot of action in it.
Oh yeah.
It's got the scene of him turning the early scene of his in his life career when he turns the cannons on the peasants, as it were. Not peasants. On the normal people, as it were. So you've got that sort of stuff. So I'm actually looking forward to it. I'm not the biggest Joaquin Phoenix fan.
I think he's great in the right role, and
he's a great actor, but I'm not his biggest fan. There are certain movies he's in that I think he's great in, and I think he will be good as Napoleon. I think really. So I'm not really that worried about his portrayal. I think I'm actually genuinely looking forward to it. I think it will be a cinema trip.
Yeah,
I think it'll be worth it.
Yes. But anyway, on that note, we will be back next time. Are we going to say what we're doing next time?
Yeah, why not?
We are doing Wayne's World.
Yeah.
Something completely different.
I thought, considering we've done some pretty heavy things in the last couple of sessions.
We'll have some fun next time. And
let's have something fun.
Yes, something fun and something very integral to my childhood. So yeah, really looking forward to doing Wayne's World. It's going to be really fun. But until then, take care, stay safe, and we will catch you next time.